usually I allow the Creator to take me forward, to reveal the core. But tonight, you might as well say that I allowed my anger and disgust and resentment to, I won't say force me, but to make me resist being led forward because of some things that I saw. And it derives from information. When the Creator told them in the garden to not eat of the knowledge of good and evil. But what I saw and what I felt, in which upset me and made me want to pull away from it, was the fact that these things were even present. It made me question the Creator right before I pulled myself from meditation. Why are these things still present inside of us? And why do you allow these things to exist? The same as the Creator allowed the tree of the knowledge of good and evil to still exist in the garden instead of discarding or even destroying it. I said in another video of mine, when it says in the word that there's an area which is a containment of where the Creator calls the seat of forgetfulness. See, when you use a phrase like seat of forgetfulness, you're talking about an area which is a containment. The seat of forgetfulness. It's like if you were with the Creator, and if you point, you ask God, what is that? And if the Creator says, oh, that's the seat of forgetfulness. This is where, after I say that I've forgiven you, I take all of your sins and therefore your bad behaviors and all of your flaws, and I throw it into the seat of forgetfulness, of where all those things are forgotten by me. And so you ask, well, if all those things are forgotten by you, then why does the seed of forgiveness even exist? And if that is so, then why do we have a time of judgment? Will you bring all of these things back that you say that you have forgotten? And will you bring these things back in order for you to cast judgment upon us if we are to enter this place which religion has asserted exists, called heaven, or that other place called hell? So, considering the entire thing that contained it doesn't imply that anything has been forgotten. What upset me tonight and made me pull myself from meditation, I came to again realize the whole knowledge of good and evil, those are opposing perceptions. And considering everything that's going on in the world today, with this war with Iraq, the war with religion, the war with politics, all of those derive from perceptions that oppose one another. The knowledge of what is good and what is evil, which is, in fact, just point of views. You see it all over YouTube, podcasts, where everyone is up there attacking a particular subject that they feel is overwhelming the community or the entire world. And everyone's going back and forth with their different point of views based upon the events of their individual pasts. And everyone's attacking one another. And if you notice, the only time that everyone is getting along is if the majority agrees upon that one particular thing. Even if one person or two people are left disagreeing, as long as the majority agrees, then everything is fine. When the other two who are in not agreement on what the majority agrees with, they are left, you might as well say, in a state of intellectual exile. And this is supposed to be a good thing. So this is just opposing perceptions is what is tearing the world apart. If both good and evil are clashing with one another, and me as the third person who is observing them both choose to observe them both. And as I said before, as I was coming up, the elders used to tell us, when two fools are arguing, bystanders cannot tell the difference. You cannot tell the difference of who is right and which one is wrong. And due to the fact that you cannot tell which one is right and which one is wrong, it's because they're both wrong, because they're clashing. There's no love there. So, with that understanding, it helps me understand why the Creator told humanity, don't consume that information, because there's no love there. There's two opposing perceptions in there. There's information there that clashes from opposing perceptions. One is good, one is evil, but they're clashing. Most people call it the yin and yang. However, when you look at the yin and yang symbol, they're clashing into one another, and it looks like they're wrestling with one another. So, we're living in a whirlwind of information that is destructive. It could be destructive. And people may say, well, you have to understand it. You have to understand it in order for you to maintain peace. That maintenance that they are referring to, the majority of the time, the people who I've come in contact with, that maintenance is what is called the balance of the two. So the the idea of coexisting together and therefore tolerating one another. We tolerate one another. And the root of that toleration is still an opposing entity, which is hatred. We'll tolerate one another, but as long as you stay over there and I stay here, and if we ever happen to come in contact with one another, we will tolerate one another, and we will call that having the balance, which is conflict. That's warfare. That's not balance, that's chaos. So is balance chaos? From my personal perception, from what I've observed, it's chaotic. So it brings to mind of why Yeshua had told Brother Nicodemus, you must be born again in the spirit. And until man is born again in the spirit, he cannot see the kingdom of God. I understand that more clearly tonight. And I thank the Creator that it allowed me to pull myself out of meditation tonight, because I was in such turmoil at that present moment. I would not have been able to deal with that had I not pulled myself from it by the Creator's permission to get this particular understanding, to where now when this is put before me in meditation, due to the fact that now I have a clear understanding of it, I'm able to be led forward and into what was getting ready to be shown to me. And so this whole journey tonight within meditation was a journey of a revealing factor of myself that I have to die to, and therefore I have died to it. Because now I understand exactly what the problem was. I was a part of what I was observing. The whole conflict that each human being is suffering, whether one group of human beings is over here who agree with the same thing, or the other human beings over here who agree with the opposing thing. This is why we clash, because we have opposing perceptions, group-wise, good, evil, and we're clashing all the time, and we are existing in a state of death. We're existing in a state of death.
Remember back to your early teachings. All who gain power are afraid to lose it, even the Jedi.
The Jedi use their power for good.
Good is a point of view, Anakin. The Sith and the Jedi are similar in almost every way, including their quest for greater power.
The Sith rely on their passion for their strength. They think inwards, only about themselves.
And the Jedi don't.
In reference to the video that I made, I believe it was like a couple of weeks ago, when I was had pulled myself from meditation with the Creator's permission, because what was shown to me I did not like. And so by my not being ready to face what was seen and what was presented to me, it upset me and I pulled myself from it. However, after being pulled from it, my mind ventured back into what I saw, and I found out tonight, as I said before, which was a form of confirmation when the Creator took me forward, and I allowed the Creator to take me forward and explain some things to me. Once my mind went silent, because that's the only way that the Creator is able to clearly communicate with you objectively and based upon clarity. What's going on in your mind has to be silent, because anything that's going on in your mind in reference to information pertaining to questions and opposing perceptions and all of those things, you're not going to do anything but question things and try to guess things, and therefore you're going to be getting in the Creator's way in order for the Creator to explain things objectively. Now, people may say, well, how is it that you can get in the Creator's way? Because the Creator has love for you, and the Creator is very much concerned with your area of expression and, and things like that. And so the Creator at the moment is going to not be able to move you forward, because you're preventing yourself from moving forward, because your mind is still active, and therefore your mind is still in turmoil, and your mind is not silent. And so as you are being led forward, humility is very key when it comes to that, especially when you're being led forward. And in the process of being led forward, you're not going to see the same things that you saw last time. You're going to see things that are similar, or you're going to be able to see things that are very new. But when you perceive these things and the Creator explain these things to you, you will come to understand that this is giving me the same understanding and the same insight. However, this is also brand new. And what it does is shows you the depth of the wisdom of the Creator. And so once I allowed my mind to go silent, there was a stillness at first, because simply because your mind is silent doesn't imply that you're ready. So in the event of stillness, humility is on its way to bring you to a state of humbleness. And then you're still not ready, because humbleness at that state is equivalent to being calm. When calmness and humbleness are two different things. Calm only means that you are involved in conflict and trying to maintain yourself to remain calm. But once humility sets in, when humbleness sets in, and then you're on your way to a state of humility, to where you have let go of all things after your mind has gotten silent. And from that state, the Creator moves you forward. And as you're moving forward, due to the fact that you are in a state of humility and your mind is silent, you're able to withstand anything that the Creator puts before you. That's the state that I was not in at that time, and that's one of the reasons why I had got upset and I had pulled myself from meditation. So when you are in that state is in 100% cooperation with the intention of the Creator's will to move you forward for the sake of learning things of not only yourself, but humanity as a entire human family. So you come to find out that even though you are individually participating in meditation, what you're being shown is for the sake of not only yourself, but as it's for the human family as a whole. And so when I was led forward, I saw those two opposing perceptions again, even though they were different visually, internally, visually, in a spiritual sense. They were different, however, they were the same in activity, in terms of opposing one another. And last time I had got upset because I resented this human nature. But this time, the Creator was explaining to me there was power in the gift of acceptance. Once you accept things and yourself as it is, that's the only way that you will be in the position on every level of the being for you to understand what you're observing. And what you are observing, you have to accept that what you're observing is yourself and the rest of the human family. So all of this is the effects of information, as I always say. It goes back to the effects of information, the good, the bad. And as the footage that I put before from the Star Wars movie, The Revenge of the Sith, when Sidious was telling Anakin, good is a point of view, and therefore bad is a point of view. And so you're dealing with the yin and yang again, which always clash, and everyone has their viewpoint and opinions on what is good and what is bad. And therefore, the good people think that what they're doing is good, as well as the bad people, the so-called bad people, who are considered, the people who are considered of the dark side. Their perception, based upon their own particular understanding, they conclude on, in spite of how the rest of society is looking at their thoughts and actions, to them, what they concluded on is good, and what they act upon is good. The same as people who call themselves good, and the way that they perceive things, and the way that they act upon things. So it's all conflict and chaos. So, as I mentioned before, that the elders used to tell us, when two people are arguing, bystanders are not able to tell the difference of who is right and who is wrong, because you're both in conflict, and therefore you're both wrong. And you're both trying to dominate one another. You're both trying to impose your will, and therefore your perception and understanding on the other. And therefore, due to the fact that you are both in turmoil because you're trying to impose your will on the other one, and that other one on you, whichever side you choose, you both are doing nothing but causing conflict. However, due to the fact that the human family has accepted the fact that there is good and bad, and you've accepted that upon a you might as well say common understanding, what we have set up in the human mind is, whether you realize it or not, even if you're a good person, you perceive yourself as a good person in opposition of giving existence and purpose of the bad. So it's like, what I'm saying is, good gives identity to the bad, and the bad gives identity to the good. And so they give each other identity and purpose to exist. And so what I saw tonight, I didn't want any parts of either one of them. And it made me say, why should I choose either one when they're both in conflict? Now, people may say, well, you have to choose one or the other. And therefore, you have to choose them both because they give purpose and identity to one another. And this brings vitality of what Yeshua had said to Brother Nicodemus: you must be born again in the spirit. He didn't say be reborn. As I always say, it's not a thing of recycle. Born again, you must totally die and be born again into the newness of the mind. The newness of the mind, not the recycled of the mind. The newness. Everything must be made new. And so you have to allow the Creator to born yourself again. But you have to be willing to die to the current self, to the degree to where as you're dying to the current self, and dying means someone who is dying, which means you're still not dead. But it's not a state of decline. Because if you perceive it like that, then you will be caught in a state of death. But the purpose of dying to the current self, so that you can be risen to a higher state of being, to where when you remember who you were, then you'll be able to say, I have died of that person and I am born again. And due to the fact that you understand exactly what the problem was, the two opposing perceptions, and giving yourself to the understanding and the conflict of both of those, you will find yourself at a higher state of understanding, along with this very beautiful state of humility and clarity, and you'll be able to walk this human journey a whole lot more clearer and understanding, and with a whole lot less conflict. Now, people will say, well, why do you say less conflict? Because you're going to be living in this world, and its social order and its environment is full of challenges. And as long as you're on this earth, you're going to be challenged. But as long as you understand that the environment is not the challenge, but you are the challenge, and in the way you decide to respond to it, and due to the fact that you are in that state of newness and in state of humility, you're going to respond at a new level of existence because you have been born again. So that's why the scripture says, let this mind be in you as was in the anointed Christ. It says, let this mind be in you. In other words, allow it. Allow this mind to be in you. So in other words, move forward without fear. Because we understand that we're living in a world that is chaotic and is dangerous. And some of us perceive that what a lot of people call Christ consciousness as a state of vulnerability, living in such a chaotic world. But humility is key. And clarity is not divorced from humility. And as you move forward, you're able to understand things more objectively, and you don't get pulled in to the chaotic vices of the world. Also, the chaotic vices in the world also implies you find yourself no longer interested in a whole lot of conversations that are in the world today, like the male and the female this, and the alpha male, and the strong and the independent black woman, and what we're going to do about. There's nothing you can do about that, because that is the direction that the world is going in. And no matter how many podcasts you set up and you talk about it, it's only going to get worse, as everyone needs to admit that it's going to get worse. And the only way that it won't get worse, you have to stop participating in it altogether and just move forward. Sitting at panels with all of this intellectual vanity going back and forth, saying I'm right and you're wrong, and you're wrong and I'm right, and all of those things, you're not going to be able to resolve anything like that as long as these opposing perceptions are in activation and your participation within those. You have to die to all of those things. And that tells you the very power of silence. Not getting yourself involved. You don't necessarily have to get yourself involved in those conversations, because those conversations are not going nowhere. Even in the religious world, there's racism there. Well, these people were black. Well, Jesus was black. Who cares? You're talking about a man who didn't even bring up race when it came to himself. They said he declared himself the Son of God according to the Spirit of holiness. It's not written that he declared himself as an Israelite or a Hebrew according to the information written down asserting that he was a black man. Who cares? Who really cares? I read an article back in 1996 that said a whole lot of black people are starting to accept Christ on the perception that he was a black man. And that's sick. That's the worship of blackness. Perception, opposing perceptions, black, white. It's the chaotic state of information. And that's my point. It's information. Now people may say, well, what do you expect us to do? I don't expect you to do anything. You just need to just let it go and just move forward and just do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Just do what is good for the human family. Now people may say, well, you just got through saying good is a point of view. Yeah, it is a point of view. But good is no longer a point of view when action is being taken place. It's action. Be ye doers of the word. Do it. Do what is right. Just do what is right. And this is how the kingdom of heaven is going to be established on earth. Not by way of intellectual vanity. Everybody's going back debating and I'm prophet this and I'm pastor this and I'm pastor that. That doesn't mean anything. All of those things are going to pass away. All of those things are going to be wiped out. What is important is that committing acts that are going to be for the betterment of humanity as a whole, not as a race, not as a political party, not as a religious base, as a humanitarian effort to make the world a better place to exist. And with that being said, I'm gonna let this go because I'm tired and I'm fumbling over my words and everything. So I'm just excited about what was shown to me tonight, and I feel much better. That's why it took me so long to make a follow-up video. But I hope everyone have a good night, and I hope that what was brought forth tonight is understood. And with that being said, let's stay human and have a good night.